Okay, so let's do a review of solving one-step inequalities. And in a one-step inequality, you're just going to have one operation. You're going to have numbers and variables and one operation and an inequality sign. And the way that you would read this is A, take away 3, is less than -1. Okay? So to solve this, you solve it just like an equation, but you have the inequality sign. So I'm going to add 3 to this side to get rid of this 3 and get A by itself. And I'm going to add 3 to this side. And so I'm going to get 2. And I've got to keep my inequality sign. So this is saying that a number, is less than 2. So it doesn't include 2. And if you have to, think of numbers that are less than 2. Well, 1's less than 2, 0, -1. So my line would go this way, and that's how I would graph that inequality. Now this one, let's look at this. The way you'd read this is 5 added to B is less than or equal to -6. So I've got to get B by itself, so I've got to get rid of this, add 5, so I'm going to subtract 5 and subtract 5, and so I get B is less than or equal to -11. So if it's less than -11, less than or equal to, I can put my dot, but it's less than, well, what are some numbers less than -11? -12, -13. So my line is actually going to go this way and keep going and going and going. And that just means that -13 makes this true. Let's take -15. -15 plus 5 would be -10. -10 is less than -6. So you can take and substitute in and see that what's true. Okay, big rule, big alert. This is where you write this down. Big notes. So you've got multiplication and division rules of inequalities. You can multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a positive number and the signs stay the same. So an example of this would be, this is divide by 2 and divide by 2. So x is greater than 8. So over here, I would say open dot because it's not equal to. It's greater than 8. What are numbers greater than 8? 9, 10. It would go this way. Okay? Now, this is where the big alert comes in. If you multiply or divide both sides of the inequality by the same negative number, you have to flip the sign. You have to flip the sign. If you divide or multiply by a negative number, you've got to flip the sign. So let me show you what that looks like. So we have y divided by 3, negative y divided by 3 is less than -5. Well, what's the opposite of divide by 3? It'd be multiply by 3. Well, I've got to multiply by -3, so these negatives cancel out and these 3's cancel out. And whatever I do to this side, I have to do to this side, times -3. So I'm going to keep my inequality sign. -5 times -3 is positive 15. Now I kept my inequality sign. What did I say I had to do? If I am doing it by a negative, if I'm multiplying by a negative, I have to flip that sign so it goes that way. And so y is greater than 15. So it's not going to be 15. And what numbers are greater than 15? 16, 17, 18. So let's look at this. Let's pick 18 because it's divisible by 3. So 18 divisible by 3 is 6. It's a negative, so -6. Is that less than -5? Yes, it's less than -5. So you have to, if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, to clear out negatives, if you have -3x is less than, let's say 4. Wait, no, let's make it even. 6, divide by -3, divide by -3. So you have x, flip my sign, -2. And put it back in and check it. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6, and that would be less than 6. If that's equal to, then it can be equal to negative 2. So make sure you know this rule is going to really come into play as you start solving two-step inequalities next.